After being declared extinct 70 years ago, the first batch of 8 cheetahs will be translocated from Namibia, Africa to Indian land under the Intercontinental Plan. These cheetahs will be brought to Kuno National Park, Madhya Pradesh. Cheetahs were extinct in India in 1952, and the African Cheetah Introduction Project in India has been underway since 2009 before picking up speed in the last few years. Now, India and Namibia signed a memorandum of understanding to reintroduce the African cheetah to India. So now there are some very important questions which need to be answered and understand. So let's start. Why need to reintroduce cheetahs? The main goal of the Cheetah Reintroduction Project is to establish viable cheetah metapopulation in India that allows the cheetah to perform its functional role as a top predator. A larger goal of re-establishing ecological function in Indian grasslands that were lost due to extinction of Asiatic cheetah. This conforms to IUCN guidelines on conservation translocations. How they will be introduced. It is very important and it is very crucial to perform and to know that how they will be introduced, as they are very vulnerable and delicate. 8 cheetahs are being brought in from Namibia, and they will be kept in enclosures for the first 2 months to ensure that they are adapting well in the new environment, because suddenly they are coming from an African continent which has some different climatic conditions and coming to India which have some different climatic conditions. This will also give the animals a chance to observe the surroundings from a distance. A soft release will be given to them into the wild once they acclimatize to Kuno National Park. They will be radio collared for round-the-clock monitoring of their movement. 6 watchtowers have been erected in the park. They will keep an eye on the world's fastest terrestrial animal once they are released from the enclosures. Also, the experts from Namibia and South Africa will be at Kuno National Park for 2 months from the arrival of the animal, and they will train the local staff to handle these big cats. After coming to all the discussions, it is very important to know that why Kuno National Park? Kuno-Palpur National Park was selected among 10 other places to reintroduce the big cats into the wild in India. That means there are 9 more places in which these big cats will be introduced in future. Kuno National Park was identified as the best suited destination. The national park is 748 square kilometers in area. Human settlements, villages, and cultivated land were relocated while building the national park. In 2020, Indian Supreme Court announced that African cheetahs could be introduced in a carefully chosen location in India on an experimental basis. So now, let us understand what is a national park in detail. National Park. They are the areas that are set by the government to conserve the natural environment. A national park has more restrictions as compared to a wildlife sanctuary. Their boundaries are fixed and defined. The main objective of a national park is to protect the natural environment of the area and biodiversity conservation. The next thing which comes is what is allowed and what is not allowed inside a national park. No human activity is allowed. Grazing of livestock and private funeral rites are not permitted. They cannot be downgraded to the status of sanctuary. That means national park cannot be downgraded to a status of sanctuary. Species mentioned in the schedules of the Wildlife Act are not allowed to be hunted or captured. No person shall destroy, remove or exploit any wildlife from a national park or destroy or damage the habitat of any wild animal or deprive the wild animal of its habitat within the national park. So there are some important facts about the national park in India which are very interesting and informative. Let's see them. There are 106 national parks in India. The total area covered by these national parks is 44,372.4 square kilometers. The first national park was Jim Corbett National Park, Uttarakhand. Largest national park is Hemis National Park in the UT of Ladakh. Smallest national park is South Button National Park in the Union Territory of Andaman Nicobar. Latest national park Kuno National Park, Madhya Pradesh, is the biggest and the largest, 900 square kilometers. Maximum national parks are in Madhya Pradesh state, which stands at 11, and in case of Union Territory, Andaman Nicobar have maximum national park, which stand at 6. There are 106 existing national parks in India, which covers the area of 44,372.42 square kilometers, which is 1.35% of the geographical area of the country, as per National Wildlife Database, May 2022. Now, let's see how an area is declared as national park. When an area, due to its ecological, fauna, flora, geomorphological or zoological association or importance needed to be protected, propagated or developed, then the state government by notification can declare such an area as national park. Chapter 4, Protected Area of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 lays down provisions for declaration, conservation and management of wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, tiger reserves and closed and protected areas. Who declares an area as a national park? The Parliament of India on 9 September 1972 enacted the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 for protection of wild animals, birds and plants, and for matters related to them and for ensuring the ecological and environmental scrutiny of the country. The Act has 66 sections and 6 schedules. The Act imposes restrictions on hunting of animals and cutting of trees from the forest. The Wildlife Protection Act 1972 also gives the power to central and state government under Section 38 and 35 respectively to establish protected areas, that is sanctuaries, national park, conservation reserve, etc. for protecting the animals and plant species in that particular region, area or a place. The Act have provisions for 4 types of protected areas and they are mentioned below. Number 1 is sanctuaries. They are the places where injured, abandoned and abused wildlife is allowed to live in peace in their natural environment without any human interventions. National parks. Areas set by the government to conserve the natural environment. Number 3. Tiger reserves. Areas reserved for the protection and conservation of tigers declared on the recommendations of the National Tiger Conservation Authority. And number 4. Community or conservation reserves. The state government may declare any area adjacent to sanctuary or a park as a community reserve after consulting with the local communities or an individual volunteer to conserve the wildlife. Now, let us take a look at the status of cheetah in India. The fastest land animal in the world was declared extinct in the country in 1952. It is believed that more than 10,000 Asiatic cheetahs roamed the wilds of India during the 16th century. The cheetah population in India dwindled during the 19th century largely because of boundary hunting by local Indian kings and ruling British officials. The last 3 Asiatic cheetahs were hunted down in 1948 by an Indian king in central India. In 1952, the cheetah was declared officially extinct in the country. Just a dozen or so Asiatic cheetahs are left in the wild right now, all in Iran. Now, after discussing all these things, let us see what are the pros and cons of bringing African cheetahs to India. Let's talk about the pros. Cheetah prefer to live in grasslands, so they can become a very important factor in the biodiversity of India's grassland ecosystem. They are a top predator and will help other species like the Indian bustard and the caracal, both of which are also endangered. Cheetahs have the slowest rate of human conflicts. Also, cheetah tourism will help attract money that could be used for conservation. And what about the cons? Due to climatic change, wildlife species in India and the world are under dire strains. In this condition, it is prudent to use funds to conserve threatened species rather than the reintroduction of species. Several conservationists have opined that cheetah reintroduction is a case of misplaced priorities. Instead, the government should focus on the ever-growing list of other endangered animals. That's all in today's session. See you soon.